Drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? This is the TFG Sports Show, the best 30-minute sports show on social media. I am your host, Kendrick Henderson. Glad that you dropped in and tuned in and check us out so we can come in here and get some of the hottest takes in the world of sports from the past couple of days. Before we jump in this thing, I need you guys to come on in, tune in, make sure you locked in, make sure you comment, make sure you like it, make sure you share it, and make sure you don't forget to subscribe to the channel TFG Sports Media on YouTube, and make sure you like and follow it on Facebook, as well as TFG TV on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Britannica Lynn, hey sis, thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. It is a little chilly in Texas now, and I ain't talking about the chili you put cheese and crackers and beans in. It's getting a little nippy out there, and it might get a little dicey here in the next couple of days. So my Texas peeps, y'all keep an eye on the weather and stay warm if you can. Again, this is TFG Sports Media. I'm your host, Kendrick. Again, make sure you come in, like, comment, share this page, and subscribe to the channel. Now, I just found out it's Margarita Tuesday. It's National Margarita Day. So if you somewhere, if you got some margarita mixed, make you a nice little margarita drink and sit back and chill with me a little bit. I might even get a little tipsy. You love it. Yeah, I know you love it, big sis. So yeah, it's National Margarita Day, guys. Y'all make sure y'all sit back. If you ain't got no margarita, run to the store real quick and get you some margarita mix, or just buy it already made, whatever, however you want to do it. So cool beans. Now, before we jump into the show, I got to give an update on the story that you saw on TFG Sports Media and probably everywhere else. The University of Wisconsin and University of Michigan, that brawl that happened at the end of the game on Sunday. Update to the story, head coach of Michigan, Juwan Howard, has been suspended for 5 games, which is the rest of the regular season, and fined $40,000. Head coach for the Badgers, Greg Gard, has been suspended for 1 game, fined $10,000. And 2 players, I believe, for Wisconsin, and I believe 2 players for Michigan have all been suspended for 1 game. So that's the update on that Wisconsin-Michigan brawl. And if you watch the video, it escalated. Wisconsin head coach Greg Gard actually did really start it. He impeded Juwan Howard. He put his hands on him. And you know, when you heated, when you're already upset, the last thing you want is somebody to touch you. So I'm not saying both of them were in the wrong. They both should be suspended. But, you know, Greg Gard did kind of escalate that situation. So that's the update on the Wisconsin-Michigan the brawl that happened at the end of the game on Sunday. So let's jump right into our topics. We're going to start off talking about the HBCU Legacy Bowl. You might be asking, what is that? I've been talking about it. If you watch TFG Sports Media on YouTube, I'm always talking about my HBCUs, always trying to get them to shine. Well, they had their first annual HBCU Legacy Bowl this past Saturday. It was the brainchild of Doug Williams and James Harris, both HBCU legends. They're quarterbacks who played at Grambling State. And they decided that they want to put this together because of the lack of HBCU football players getting any looks or getting any shine or even being drafted. There was not one HBCU college football player drafted into the NFL's last drafts. So James Harris and Doug Williams wanted to do something about that. So they was able to put together this HBCU Legacy Bowl, first annual, and it was played in New Orleans, Louisiana, on the campus of Tulane University. Now, they had it's about 98 players between both teams. One team was Team Gather, and the other was Team Robinson. If you wonder who Gather is, that's the legendary head coach from Florida A&M, the late Jake Gather. He coached there from 1945 to 1969. His record was 204, 36-4. And some of the players that he put in the NFL, you'll recognize these names. Bob Hayes, Bullet Bob Hayes, who played for the Cowboys. Ken Riley, who was an all-world safety. Willie Gallimore, and Hewitt Dixon, who played in the AFL and was an AFL champion. Now, the Team Robinson. I know everybody know who this legendary coach is, Eddie Robinson. He coached at Grambling State, legendary coach from 1945 to 1997. He had a record of 408, 165, and 15, and he has sent more than 200 players to the NFL. Some of those players: Buck Buchanan, Willie Brown, Charlie Joyner, James Shaq Harris, who I just mentioned, was one of his quarterbacks, and obviously, most probably people know Doug Williams and Willie Davis. Now, for the Cowboy fans that might not know this, Everson Walls, Cowboy safety, he played at Grambling State as well. Now, let's talk about the game a little bit. Team Gather did win the game 22-6. Really wasn't about who won. It's about getting these guys looks. Tennessee State quarterback Jeremy Hickbottom was named the offensive MVP, and Florida A&M's Rattlers Antoine Collier was named the defensive MVP. I watched the game. It was a lot of good. Obviously, you try to put this together. These guys only practiced 1 week. Offensives both were okay, but obviously when you only do this for a week, different players from different schools, the timing and continuity, it's not going to be what it is. But the real thing is, this game isn't really about that. It's about getting these guys in game action where these NFL scouts can scout them, where they can get looked at and be able to become NFL draft eligible. Now, some of the players to watch this upcoming NFL draft, and I mentioned him before: Jermaine Martin from North Carolina A&T, Cam Durley from Tennessee State, Deshaun Dixon from Norfolk State, who's a defensive end, and he has a high motor, and he actually played well this game. James Fagan from Hampton University, and Trey Gross from Delaware State. Those were for Team Gather. Some of the players that really put themselves in a really good position to become an NFL player. Now for Team Robinson, Akil Glass. Now this is the name. Remember this name, Akil Glass, 6'5", 215-pound quarterback out of Alabama A&M. He was the SWAC Player of the Year. He played okay, but you have to get everybody reps. He had a couple of series. He did all right, but the pros are really they're really excited about his size and his arm strength and his accuracy. Again, remember this name, Akil Glass out of Alabama A&M. Ezra Gray out of Alabama State. Jawan Taylor out of Alcorn State. Ontario Johnson out of Bethune-Cookman. Again, Antoine Collier out of Florida A&M. Keontae Hampton out of Jackson State. Al Young out of Jackson State. And Jawan Pass out of Prairie View. He has a football name. He got to make it to the league, Jawan Pass, and he plays quarterback. So keep an eye on these guys. Now, the one guy that really stepped up and wasn't really the talk, but he became the talk after this game, wide receiver Marquise McLean. He's 6'2", 215 out of Southern. He had 7 receptions for 84 yards in this game, and he made some big catches over the middle. So again, HBCU Legacy Bowl, good. This is where to get some shine for these HBCU football players. Again, the light is being shown on this HBCU football because there's good football going on across the land. Obviously, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders at Jackson State has a lot to do with now with people really taking it seriously. We got Hugh Jackson at Grambling State as well. So again, I believe Doug Williams and James Harris was happy with this first annual HBCU Legacy Bowl. I'm assuming it's going to continue. Hopefully it'll get bigger and better. And then a Texas man, and he's not a kid, was one of the sponsors. His 15 Foundation has committed to this bowl by the name of Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl winning quarterback. You know who I'm talking about, Patrick Mahomes, who is from East Texas, right outside of Tyler. His foundation is one of the most sponsors, and he was the coin toss captain. And he was there, and he was able to talk to NFL Network about his involvement and all that. So kudos to the legends, Doug Williams and James Harris, for putting this together. And again, I hope these young men get a shot because there was a lot of NFL talent on that field. So kudos to them. We're going to move on to our next topic. We're going to stay in football. I don't know if you guys remember the United States Football League, but guess what? It's back. It's back. And guess what? Tonight, they're having their first draft. First draft, United States Football League. If those don't remember, the United States Football League tried to come and compete against the NFL in the mid-'80s. Obviously, they didn't fold, but they had some named players that a lot of you guys probably didn't realize they played in the USFL prior to the NFL. Reggie White, the late, great Reggie White, Minister of Defense. He played for the Memphis Showboats. Jim Kelly went to 4 Super Bowls, the Buffalo Bills. He played with the Houston Gamblers. Herschel Walker, he's played with the New Jersey Generals. Running back for that team owned by that guy that used to be in the White House. Yeah, that guy, Donald Trump, used to own the New Jersey Generals. That league is back. They only lasted a year. They folded. They tried to sue the NFL. They won $1. That's a wrap. But now they back. I believe the Fox network is really like the owner of this league, and their games are going to be shown on Fox. The league, their first game is going to kick off April the 16th between the Birmingham Stallions, I believe, and the New Orleans Breakers. You might remember those names. Those are some of the names from the old league, if you're old enough to remember that. I'm telling my age. Well, I'm going to name, I was able to check in on their draft. Their draft is going on right now. You got to catch it on their site, or you can go to YouTube and just type in USFL Draft, and I'm sure it'll pop up. But don't do it until you're done watching the show. Don't go there till after we're done. But I'm just going to give you some of the picks already. I was able to catch the first 4 picks. Now, this name is going to probably be a trivia. So I'll write this name down because somebody's going to say, who was the first ever pick in the new USFL Draft in 2022? And it goes to the Michigan Panthers. Quarterback Shea Patterson, who played at Michigan State, was picked by the Michigan Panthers. He was the first overall pick. That's quarterback. Now, it's 35 rounds in this draft. The first round is only quarterbacks. They have some kind of unique things that they're doing. The first round, each team, which is 8, you got to pick quarterbacks. So the first pick ever in the USFL Draft was Shea Patterson, quarterback for the Michigan Panthers, who played college ball at Michigan State. The number 2 pick was held by the Tampa Bay Bandits. Quarterback Jordan Ta'amu, who played at Ole Miss. He's number 2 coming into the USFL. Philadelphia Stars held the number 3 pick. They picked quarterback Brian Scott. He's out of Occidental College, which I think is out of California. He's the number 3 pick. New Jersey Generals held the number 4 pick. They picked quarterback Ben Holmes. He played at Tarleton State. That's somewhere here in Texas. I believe it's near Stephenville. They had the number 4 pick. And the Houston Gamblers, who will be coached by Kevin Sumlin. If you remember Kevin Sumlin, yo, what's going on, the Real Estate Insider? Thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. If you remember that name, Kevin Sumlin, he was a former A&M Aggie coach. He also coached at the Houston Cougars. And his last coaching stop was with Arizona. Well, the Houston Gamblers had the 5th pick overall in USFL Draft, and they chose quarterback Clayton Thompson out of Clayton Thorson out of Northwestern. So those are the first 5 picks so far that I was able to catch of the USFL First Player Draft. Again, the USFL draft's going on right now. It's going to be 35 rounds. They got rounds tonight and tomorrow morning continue. You can watch that on their social media page, but don't go over there yet. You stay right here. Yeah. You can catch up on them later, but that's going on tonight. They will have 38 men on the team, a 38-man roster with a 7-man practice squad. The training camp begins March the 21st, again with the first game kicking off April the 16th between the Birmingham Stallions and the New Orleans Breakers. So you can catch all that, all their whole draft and all that good stuff. I'm going to finish watching a little bit of it just to see if I see any names that I know of. Again, players that has to be eligible. They have to be at least have graduated. They have to have graduated from high school in 2020, and they cannot be under contract in any other league. Again, the players that are picked tonight had to already have signed a contract to play in the USFL. If they're under any contract in any other league, they are not eligible to play in the USFL. So again, we're gonna have some football. I know everybody's going through football withdrawal as the Super Bowl is over, but just hold tight. In about 8 weeks, we're gonna have some football. I'm kind of looking forward to it to see how it's gonna do. I think they'll do. I think it'll do better this time due to the fact that I think they get it. They got the right people in place. It's going to be actual football, not some little like the XFL. They try to kind of make it more entertainment and make it more like a wrestling type thing. Whereas this is going to be football with real football coaches. And speaking of coaches, I'm going to name some of the coaches for the teams. Again, Michigan Panthers, Jeff Fisher, former Tennessee Titan coach, is the coach for the Michigan Panthers. New Jersey Generals, Mike Riley, who coached in the NFL and coached at Oregon State in college. Philadelphia Stars coach, Bart Andrus. Pittsburgh Maulers coach is Kirby Wilson. Birmingham Stallions coach is Skip Holtz. The Houston Gamblers coach, again, is Kevin Sumlin. New Orleans Breakers coach is Larry Fedora. And the Tampa Bay Bandits coach is Todd Haley, who has an extensive background and experience in the NFL as an offensive coordinator. So those are the coaches for the 8 teams in the USFL. All the teams will play in Birmingham. They're playing in one centralized location this year, and they will be playing in Birmingham with all home games there. So it's going to kind of be like a bubble situation. So that's our USFL update. Let's move on to this NBA. Let's talk about the NBA and the All-Star Weekend recap. Man, let me tell you about that. First of all, I'll talk about the dunk contest in just a second. 3-point contest. I was shocked. I was surprised. A dark horse won it. A center won the 3-point contest shootout. Karl Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves scored 29 points in the final round to defeat Trae Young and Luke Kennard to win the 3-point shooting contest. And I actually thought it was exciting. I like the 3-point contest. Me personally, the last couple of years, I watched that. I've been more interested in that than the dunk contest. But Karl Anthony Towns, I think he's the first big man. Like, big man. Well, I think Dirk won it too. I know he was entered. I think Dirk won 3-point contest. So he necessarily wasn't the first big man because Dirk entered it, and I believe he did win the 3-point contest one year because Dirk was 7 foot as well. But Karl Anthony Towns is 7 foot. He took the crown for the 3-point shooting contest. Then they had this skills challenge where they take them through all these different drills and stuff, yada, yada, yada. Team Cleveland won that. Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and Jared Allen, they won that. And then to the most disappointing dunk contest I think that's ever been shown. I've seen better dunks, and I said this last night. I've seen a better dunk contest at the YMCA. Obi Toppin did win for the New York Knicks, but let me tell you, if you watch that dunk contest, it was dry as a Thanksgiving turkey. You had Cole Anthony putting on Timberlands, trying to do dunks. You had the Hayes kid from Houston. He took about 20 minutes to finally get his dunk. It was just, I mean, you could just tell the energy, the crowd energy. You had the legendary Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He basically just grabbed his coat and walked out. I think he was like, yo, I've had enough of this. I'm getting ready to go back to my room. Shaq was there. He was on the front row shaking his, man, listen, NBA, I love you to death. Get rid of the dunk contest. If you're going to do it, I say go find some of the best dunkers on the web across the world and have them compete for some money. I just think at the end of the day, the dunk contest has lost all its luster. A lot of the stars don't get it anymore. I think a lot of us are spoiled because we've seen just about every dunk that imagining. So I think a lot of these guys' creativity now is just they just trying to think of stuff, and some of that stuff they're thinking of just ain't it. So yeah, I was very unimpressed with the dunk contest, and I think Obi Toppin has some. I think he's a good in-game dunker, and a couple of dunks he did was all right, but it wasn't nothing that just made me jump off the couch like, oh, like when Vince Carter and the Jason Richardson of the past, and Michael Jordan, the Dominique Wilkins. I could go on and on. Dr. J, you know, the godfather of the dunk. So anyway, yeah, the dunk contest was So anyway, All-Star game. Team LeBron defeated Team KD 163-160. Stephen Curry won the MVP, the Kobe Bryant MVP, which it was named after the late great Kobe Bryant after he and 7 others died in a horrific helicopter crash back in 2020. So they decided to name the MVP All-Star Award after the late great Kobe Bryant. Stephen Curry, he scored 50 points, almost broke a record Anthony Davis still holds the record for most points scored in an All-Star game at 52, but he hit 16 three-pointers. And some of these three-pointers Stephen Curry hit was dope. It was bananas. He hit one three-point shot. He let it go, and he turned his back, and he was talking to somebody on the front row. It hit nothing but net. That just shows you how crazy a shooter this guy is, man. But Stephen Curry, he was the MVP with 50 points and 16 three-pointers. LeBron James actually hit the game winner because this was played in Cleveland, which is his hometown. He hit the game winner with the fadeaway to get Team LeBron to win. And with that, it resulted in $450,000 being donated to Kent State's I Promise Scholars, which is part of LeBron James's schools that he had created called I Promise School. So that was dope. Also, the league recognized, NBA is celebrating the 75th year anniversary, and the league recognized all 75 greatest players in the history of the game. And guess who got the biggest ovation, even though it was in Cleveland? My guy, the bald headed one, the one they call Black Jesus. MJ. MJ got the biggest ovation. But obviously, there were so many legends in the building. And it was kind of cool to see Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. I think they seemed like they finally buried their hatchet. They took a picture together, and they seemed like they kind of trying to smooth it out because those cats hadn't talked, man, since Ray Allen left and joined LeBron in Miami. So KG was feeling some type of way about that for years. I was glad to see it. Maybe it may have just been for photo ops. I could, sometimes, it could have been just for that. But hopefully, man, they buried the hatchet on that, man, because they did do some good things together. They won a championship in Boston together, almost won two. So hopefully those brothers are mending old wounds, because a lot of times, when you get older, you start putting stuff in perspective and you think about stuff like, you know what, man, that stuff, man, we ain't been talking about. It's really, really petty. We did some good things together. Let's just focus on that. We grown men. Let's make it move on. So good to see that. Again, it's good to see the captain, Kareem and Jerry West. Again, Mike and LeBron and all those guys together in one room. That's a lot of talent when you talk about the NBA and 75 years of greatness. So it was a room full of greatness. I thought the actual NBA All-Star game was pretty good this year compared to last year's, and it was definitely better than that dry dunk contest. So that's my NBA All-Star Weekend recap. If you saw any of this, man, comment. Let me know what you think about it. If you watched any of the activities, make sure you comment. And I'd like to know what you thought about it. All right, so we're going to move on. Speaking of basketball, we're talking about LeBron and Kobe. 2008 Olympics beef. And you probably wonder, what? LeBron and Kobe had beef? I don't know if it was beef, but I'm going to tell you, and I want to hear what you think about it. Well, there's a new book that's out. It's out now, written by Ian O'Connor, titled Coach K, The Rise and Reign of Mike Krzyzewski. If you don't know who Coach K is, he's the head coach of Duke. He's been the head coach there since, I believe, 1980, and he's actually retiring this year. So Ian O'Connor wrote a book about his life, his legacy. Well, he also was the Olympic coach for quite a few years. So he was the coach of the 2008 team, which Kobe and LeBron were a part of. Now, this is what happened according to a staffer. LeBron was a little bit perturbed. He thought that Kobe was being selfish and taking some ill-advised shots, yada, yada, yada. So they were playing an exhibition game against Australia. So Kobe had maybe taken an ill-advised shot, maybe was playing not to LeBron's liking. I remember this is 2008 Olympics, the Beijing. So LeBron comes out, and according to the staffer in this book, LeBron tells Coach K, yo, coach, you better fix that MF. According to the staffer, this is what LeBron said to Coach K as he was walking by him to sit on the bench. And the MF he was talking about was Kobe. So Coach K would pull Kobe to the side, not during this game, but during the practice, and they was watching some tape, and it was saying, hey, we need to get some more ball movement. This, yada, yada, yada. According to the book again, Kobe responded to Coach K, said, okay, coach, I got you. So that raises the question: Was there a little bit of shadiness on LeBron or a little jealousy? My little bro broke it down, and I think he got it, and because I didn't think of it this way, knowing Kobe and how him and MJ were so much alike, I think Kobe was testing LeBron. I think he was doing that just to see how is he gonna handle this. Is he gonna come to me and say it to me? Because you got to remember, in 2008, Kobe was still the man. He was the man. I don't care what anybody say. Kobe was the man and the face of the league at that time, to me, and especially of the Olympic basketball team, 2008. So I think Kobe was just trying to see, okay, LeBron, I want to see how you're going to handle this adversity. Are you going to come to me or are you going to run behind? So I think actually Kobe was maybe playing selfish, maybe doing that just to test LeBron's leadership. I could be off, I could be wrong, but my little bro kind of gave that angle, and I was like, yeah, I could probably see Kobe doing that. Now, did he pass? Now LeBron did say, according to the book, that when he came to the Lakers in 2018, I believe, he did want to sit down and talk with Kobe about that situation, but they never ever got a chance to talk about that. And again, unfortunately, the late great Kobe Bean Bryant and his daughter Gigi and 7 others died in that helicopter accident in 2020. So LeBron never got to address that. So that's going to always probably be one of those what ifs, But I thought that was an interesting tidbit on LeBron and Kobe's relationship. The 2008 Olympics. Was it beef? They did go on to win a gold, and then they will go on to play again together in the 2012 Olympics as well. So was it beef? I don't know. Could be. It was slight beef. Notorious B.I.G. had a song called "What's Beef," so it could have been. But I think they still had the utmost respect for each other. But I think maybe LeBron was. I think he may been a little bit jealous. Just my opinion. So we'll never know. Only LeBron can tell his side. I would love to know what Kobe was thinking during that time when Coach K addressed him about that situation, because Kobe probably said, "Oh, okay, you wouldn't have told Coach. Okay, I got you." And he probably laughed about it. He probably said, "Got him." Kobe probably said, "Got him." So anyway, that's that. LeBron, I still think he's not in my. He makes my maybe top 6 greatest of all time. To me, he's not my GOAT. My GOAT is MJ, and he's my favorite. But everybody GOAT is different. That's just me. So we'll leave it at that. All right, so we down to our final thoughts. To all those that checked in, my big sis Britannica Lynn, the real estate insider, I appreciate you guys joining me. My final thoughts is I want to comment on Brian Flores. The brother that was fired, head coach. He was former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, who now has been hired to be the defensive assistant / linebackers coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the irony of that is, not only is the Pittsburgh Steelers is owned by the Rooney family, who the Rooney Rule was created by the owner of the late Art Rooney, because of wanting to make sure that minorities got a fair shot at being hired and being interviewed for head coaching and upper management positions. So the irony of him being hired by that organization, but also the great thing about Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, been there for 15 years, never had a losing season. I would say that I am my brother's keeper, and I think Mike Tomlin showed that, because we know Flores still has a lawsuit against the NFL and 3 teams. A lot of those owners ain't going to touch him. A lot of coaches may not want him on his staff, but let's not make no mistake about it. Brian Flores is a good coach. Brian Belichick could vouch for that. He's a good coach. He had 2 winning seasons in Miami, considering what he dealt with. So I'm gonna say this. I think that's one of those. Mike Tomlin did a thing that I'm definitely proud of, because he said, "I am my brother's keeper." He said, "This may not be a position you want right now, but I got you covered, and I'm gonna support you. And we know you're going through this legal situation, but I got you." So kudos to Mike Tomlin. kudos to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization for taking that step. And last but not least, man, much respect and kudos to Brian Flores, man, because who knows, but when it started, I was saying that has he committed coaching suicide? You never know. Right now, it may look bleak, but he got an opportunity to still be in the game, and another brother helped his brother up when he's down. Let's always remember, if we can help a brother up when he's down, let's help, man. Am my brother's keeper. So those are my final thoughts for tonight. As I take a sip out of my Green Bay Packer cup, I want to say thanks again for Britannica Lynn and the Real Estate Insider for joining me, and all those that also joined. If you didn't, make sure you like, share, comment, share this to all your social media platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to TFG Sports Media on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. Subscribe to TFG TV on YouTube and follow it on Facebook, and also follow TFG Sports Media on Facebook and Kendrick Sports Hustle page on Facebook. So this has been Tuesday night with your sports guy Kendrick, and as I take a sip as we leave, have a good night. See you next Tuesday. Peace.
That money clip us now, the new now looks like, whoa. Upgrade her diamonds, now her girlfriends are like, whoa, 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 whoa. I hit record and drop, you can't ignore.